There's little worse than that sinking feeling when you return to your bike and find it's been stolen. It's recommended that we should spend 10% of the value of our bike on a lock, but let's be honest, new lock day is nowhere near as exciting as new bike day. Of course, one way to deter a potential new owner is to ride something that no self-respecting thief would be seen dead with. Most of us won't be leaving our expensive pride and joy out of our sight for too long, but even the most mediocre bike will be targeted by an opportunist scrote. And it's all very well protecting our ride with a lock, but I still see so many bikes parked with only the crossbar locked to a cycle rack or railing, or just sometimes the front wheel. After being a thorn in our county council's side for several years, they've now installed some new bike pods in our town. This means I'll be happy to ride into town instead of adding to the congestion by driving, and of course it saves on parking. With this in mind, I looked into the best locks, and after much research I decided that the Litelok X1 appeared to offer the most comprehensive security for my needs at least. I did have one concern, and I'll come back to that later. Litelok kindly sent a sample X1 for me to see what I thought. And my first impression was that this lock is not very well named because it's not light. At a fraction over 1.7 kilos, it's reassuringly heavy. Let's face it, we wouldn't trust something that didn't feel substantial. The X1, made by Litelok in Wales, UK, has earned a Sold Secure Diamond rating as well as the motorcycle rating and ART4 accreditation through some clever design. The X1's first line of defence is the high tensile steel core that guards against bolt cutters, hammer and chisel, as well as crowbar attack. If not put off by that, the new tool of choice will be employed, the battery powered angle grinder. Now hopefully the would-be thief will have bought plenty of discs, because the X1 has a coating of ceramic baronium fused to the high tensile steel core. Now if you find yourself in a periodic table round on the TV show Pointless, don't be tempted to use baronium as a smart answer, because you'll get that big red X. Baronium is the invention of Litelok's co-founder, Professor Neil Barron. Baronium repels angle grinder attacks so well that tests prove that at least 1.5 discs are worn out just to get through 1 bar of baronium coated steel. And that's in ideal conditions with a mains powered angle grinder. But 1 bar won't cut it. Once through 1 bar, our would-be thief would normally twist the lock to release it. But this is where another X1 design feature will defeat them, the anti-twist lug. Hopefully our thief will have moved on to easier pickings by now, but of course they may decide to have one last go and try picking the lock or drilling it out. But good luck with that one, because that would have been part of the Sold Secure Diamond and ART4 rating tests. But now to my concern. It's essential to lock a bike correctly, and that's through the rear wheel and rear frame triangle. It's all very well that the X1 will take multiple grinder discs and maybe a grinder recharge to be defeated, but what about the material of least resistance, whatever you've secured the bike to? It's going to be easier to cut the tubing of a cycle stand or a railing than it is this baronium coated Litelok. But with the rear wheel and frame correctly locked, the bike can't be wheeled away as the lock will still be in place. Now of course the whole bike could be picked up and put in a van, and let's face it, if they want your bike that badly they're going to get it. My concern was that in making the lock as secure as possible, Litelok may not have left enough space to allow correct locking. So I asked my usual crash test dummy Mike to check it out. I like these street pods from Cycle Pods as they effectively secure the front wheel. So if these aren't available and you're using a Sheffield type stand or railing, you'll need to lock the front wheel separately as well. So as you see, my doubts were unfounded. The X1 did allow correct locking of Mike's bike. Now if you're anything like me, you'll want proof of all this, but I'm not about to destroy a perfectly good lock. But fortunately that's been done for me by at least 2 independent testers, so I'm going to put a link towards the end of this video to their YouTube videos showing 2 different tests using multiple methods to try and get into the lock. And finally, Litelok have added a couple of very nice aesthetic features. Firstly, there's a silicone lock guard to keep road dirt out, plus a plant-based eco-rubber coating to prevent chafing against your paintwork. This also helps guard against angle grinder attack, as this coating will melt and gum up the disc. Now if you fix a lock to your bike to carry while you're riding, there's nothing worse than rattling. And to combat this, Litelok has designed a neat twist and go mount that keeps everything secure and quiet. And if you don't want to lock it to the bike, there's this very handy neoprene cover it's supplied with, and that's going to protect whatever bag you carry the lock in. Now that covers bike locking, but what about those expensive components we adorn our bikes with? I know many of us ride with the excellent Redshift suspension seat post, and that's a pretty expensive item. All that's stopping a would-be thief taking that is the correct size Allen key. But I've found a superb solution for protecting against that sort of theft, and I'm going to be covering that in the next video. So if you want to see that, please subscribe. And if you found this video useful and want to show your appreciation, all I ask is for you to give it a like, and that's totally free. So thanks for joining me today. I look forward to you joining me next time, but until then I'll say bye for now.